Hi, this set of presentation we will be looking at the effects of changes in the exchange rate in the economy. So when we refers to the exchange effects, right? So please do remember, always refer to the four macro aims like having a low inflation rate, to ensure that there is economic growth, i.e. an increase in the output, as well as an increase in the employment, meaning to say that a decrease in the unemployment or low level of unemployment. On the other hand, to ensure that the BOP, balance of payment, is always at the equilibrium. So changes in the exchange rates, right, will have domestic as well as the external impact on the economy. So when refers to the internal or domestic impacts, right, it refers to the first three macro aims by maintaining a low inflation rate, increase in output, low level of unemployment. Then balance of payment is known as the external impact on the economy. So let us look get it very quickly. Domestic impact, it refers to the changes or the impact on the income and employment given a change in the exchange rate. So according to the Marshall-Lerner conditions, so Marshall-Lerner condition refers to the sum of the price elasticity of demand for export and the price elasticity of demand for imports. So long as the sum of this is more than 1, it means that an appreciation of the US currency, for example, will worsen the balance of trade and therefore decrease the income and employment. Why is this so? So shall we look at it in detail? When there is an appreciation increase in the exchange rate of the US dollars, it means that the price of the export in terms of the foreign currency will become cheaper, will become more expensive. There is an increase in the price of export. However, for the price of the export in terms of the domestic currency, doesn't change. So in this case, right, it is a non-price determinant. So with the change in the interest rate, price of export becomes more expensive in terms of foreign currency, not a price determinant. It will decrease the demand for export. Make myself very clear over here, this is a non-price determinant because we are looking at the price of exports in terms of foreign currency. It will decrease the demand for export. It means that the demand of the export will shift to the left. So using the diagram itself, the demand for export will shift to the left. As such, right, there will be a decrease in the export revenue in the home currency. So the people in the economy will receive lesser in terms of the export revenue. However, on the other hand, with the same increase in the exchange rate, it will cause a decrease in the price of the imports in terms of the home currency. So in this case, right, the price, because of the stronger exchange rate, right, the import become relatively cheaper as compared to previously. So in this case, this is actually a price determinant because previously the domestic people in the domestic economy will be also paying the import using their home currency, but due to the stronger exchange rate, the home currency, the price of the import in terms of home currency decreases. So this increase the quantity demanded for imports. This itself, in this case for the import, it is a price determinant, so it will increase the quantity demanded of imports, which is reflected by a movement along the demand curve. It is reflected by the movement along the demand of imports. So the quantity demanded of import become increases. So assuming that the price elasticity of demand for import is price elastic, assuming that price elasticity of demand for import is price elastic with a decrease in the price of import, the increase in the quantity demanded of import will increase more than proportionally. So as such, right, the import expenditure will increase. As such, the import expenditure in terms of the home currency will increase. So I pause for a while here for you to internalize what actually I went through. The main thing is to look at the change in the demand for the export and the change in the quantity demanded for the imports, as I explained previously. So if I were to use the ADAS model with the as you can notice, when the price the Marshall Lerner condition holds, right, the overall net export will increase or decrease. In this case, the net export will decrease because there is a decrease in the export revenue and an increase in the import expenditure. So net export will decrease, and this will reduce the AD, aggregate demand. So as such, right, the income and employment will decrease. It will have a negative impact on the income and employment given an appreciation of the currency, assuming that the Marshall Lerner condition hold. However, this condition also states that, so in another case for a currency devaluation, meaning to say that for the government to depreciate the currency, to devalue the currency, it will have a positive impact on the trade balance, given that the sum of the of price elasticity of demand for export and imports is greater than 1. Why is this so? If you can understand what I explained in the previous slides, you might want to do your analysis by looking at if there is a devaluation of the currency, how does it affect the net export, and therefore helps to increase or rather to improve the trade balance. So if there is any question, I leave this for you to figure out on your own. If there is any question, feel free to ask me. So please do note that both demand for export and imports need not be price elastic. In fact, both can be price inelastic so long as the summation leads to a value greater than 1. Alright, does the Marshall Lerner condition hold in Singapore? Think about, is the demand for export price elastic or inelastic? Is the demand for import price elastic or inelastic? So in this case, for the case of Singapore, our demand for export is price elastic. On the other hand, the demand for import is price inelastic, lesser than 1. So the summation of the elasticity values for export and import in terms of price elasticity of demand is actually more than 1. So you might want to refer to page 18 of your lecture notes for a detailed explanation, which you can use in the essay, and I will go through it later on in another presentation. So in this case, right, for Singapore, Marshall Lerner condition does hold. Alright, let us look at other effects or domestic impacts of the changes in exchange rate. For the inflation, if there is an appreciation of the currency, what will happen is balance of trade will worsen, as mentioned in the previous slides. So decrease in AD will cause and help to reduce the demand pull inflation. On the other hand, if the similar thing, currency appreciates, import prices will decrease because of the decrease in the price of imports given a stronger currency. This will help to reduce the importer or the cost push inflation. So it depends on the economy. If a significant proportion of the raw material and the capital goods in the economy are imported from the other country, so it will be good for us to look at how the currency appreciation will actually helps to reduce the cost push inflation. Next, let us look at the external impacts of changes in the exchange rates. So when there is an appreciation of the country currency, it will cause the country export to be more expensive in terms of the foreign currency. This reduces the export competitiveness, making the export relatively less competitive compared to the similar goods produced by the other countries. But however, please note that assumption takes place ceteris paribus. We are assuming that there isn't any change in the foreign in the currency of the other countries. So in this case, right, it could actually lead to a worsening of the balance of trade. On the other hand, for the financial flow, an appreciation of the currency may indicate that the economy is actually in a good health. This actually increase the confidence of the investor and leading to an increase in the capital inflow. It could be both short term and long term. So because these speculator decide to buy more of the currency in anticipation of a further appreciation, so this will increase the demand for the currency and therefore causes the exchange rate of the currency to increase further. However, on the other hand, however, it may actually be more expensive to invest in the country as the prices of the assets in foreign currency become higher. So this actually discourage foreign direct investment as it could mean a lower profitability for them. So overall impacts, it depends. It depends on the expectation of the investor as well as the changes on the whether investor will mean does it mean a higher or a lower profitability. So it depends on the trend of the changes in the currency as well. Changes in the currency exchange rate. Next, we'll look at the balance of payment. For the balance of payment, when there is an appreciation of the country's currency, assuming that martial learner's condition holds, the balance of payment will worsen via the visible and invisible trade component of the current account. So for the current account, it will worsen in the short-term ceteris paribus. However, in the longer term, the impacts on the capital and financial account it is actually indeterminate, cannot be determined. So if the appreciation of the currency is gradual and due to the strong economic fundamentals, it will actually attract in more foreign direct investment into the country because they believe that there is a higher expectation of the economic growth and hence profitability for them, and this could also mean a higher rate of returns when the profits are converted back to the foreign investor home currency if the country currency continue to grow. So this is the impact on the capital and financial account will be positive, meaning to say that there will be an improvement on the capital and financial account and hence improving the balance of payment. So the impact on the overall impact on the balance of payment, it depends on the how the impacts on the current account and the impacts on the capital and financial account. It depends on the extent on these two accounts. But do note that the increase in the foreign direct investment it will have AD and as well as AS side effects on the economy, and this will be actually discussed under supply side policy. So next, terms of trade. With the appreciation of the country exchange rate, it will not change the price. Terms of trade here refers to the price, the ratio of the price of the export and the price of the imports. So when there is an appreciation of the exchange rate, it will not change the price of the export in the domestic currency. However, it will decrease the price of the imports in the domestic currency given a stronger currency. So hence, the terms of trade will improve. With the improve in the terms of trade, it means that the country can obtain more imports from the exports itself, but the impact on the quantity is not considered because the changes in the terms of trade does not take the price effects on the quantity transacted into consideration. So to summarize my point for terms of trade, if the Singapore dollars appreciate, terms of trade will improve. Alright, the impacts on the external debt. With the appreciation of the home currency, the value of the external debt in terms of the foreign currency will become lower. So in this case, it reduced the burden of the external debt and hence resulted in less home currency needed to be paid for the same amount of foreign debt. So it means that it reduced the drain on the country income or reserve that are allocated for the payment of the external debt. So this reallocation of resources to finance the external debt incur an opportunity cost in terms of the economic growth. So I am done for this presentation. So just to summarize a few points, whenever we are tasked to analyze the effects of the changes in a policy on the economy, please do your basic analysis by classifying the impacts, whether it is domestic impacts, i.e. the impacts on the price level, the output, meaning to say that the economic growth and the unemployment, as well as the external impacts on the balance of payment. So that's it. Thank you.